Another Saturday of top-tier college football, another Sunday of a new AP list, and we need to talk about this because we are inching closer to the list that ultimately matters, the college football playoff list. But there were games yesterday that are going to have massive implications moving forward, and we need to break it all down. Before we do, as always, y'all know the drill. I want to hear from you. Hop down to the comments. Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Do you agree with the current iteration of the top four pegged by the AP poll in Georgia, Cincinnati, Oklahoma, Alabama? Let me know what you're thinking, and if you do disagree, let me know what your top four would be. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, hit that bell notification. I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it. And if you enjoyed this content, be sure to like and comment down below. Those interactions, though small, are really massive for content creators such as myself in getting both picked up and maintained by the YouTube algorithm. But with all that being said, I want to start with the biggest, most impactful loss of the weekend. Number 2, Iowa being downed by Purdue. And after that loss, Iowa moves to number 11, Purdue finding themselves within the top 25 at 25, but that was a huge loss. Iowa was undefeated up until that point in the season and had some good wins under their belt. There were certain aspects of Iowa that we still looked at, wondering just who they were, but the defense up until that point had been solid. Up until they played Purdue. Purdue just seems to be that team that you do not want to play if you have a top 5 rank because they seem to really show up in those games. But this is a game that has reverberations because if you look at it right now with Iowa dropping all the way to 11, we need to look at what this means for the current top 4. And like I said in the intro, that top 4 consists of Georgia, Cincinnati, who took Iowa's place, Oklahoma moving to 3, but the Alabama Crimson Tide moving to 4. And this is why I say the Iowa loss is important. Because Alabama's coming off of a week where they lost to Texas A&M in a game that they probably shouldn't have won if they showed up and played their best ball, or that's at least how Alabama feels. They had a mission this week to correct the mistakes that they felt they had made during Texas A&M, and boy did they do that. During the early portions of the Mississippi State game, Mississippi State was able to move the ball a bit, but Alabama's defense, though bending slightly, didn't break, only allowing field goals. But goodness me, after the second half, that was a ferocious and inspired unit. Will Anderson showing why he is one of the premier players in all of college football. 4 sacks yesterday alone. Multiple tackles for loss. I mean, the young man is an absolute machine. Will Anderson has done so much for this Alabama defense, and he continues to do so. But the defense outside of Will Anderson showed up. Jordan Battle with 2 interceptions, a pick 6. Josh Jobe with a beautiful interception as far as technique was concerned, absolutely reading the quarterback and getting whatever it is he wanted on that interception. So there was a lot of positive to take away from that game. However, this positive needs to continue into the further weeks, because if Alabama can take what they did on Saturday, continue improving upon it, and continue evolving, this team can be as dangerous as many of us thought, but there is still more to work on. But it also just doesn't stop with Alabama, because Oklahoma, who was sitting at 4, is now sitting at 3. Oklahoma coming off of another sensational performance by true freshman Caleb Williams, who took over for Spencer Rattler in the Red River rivalry. And during the Red River rivalry, we knew it would be hard for a defense to really adjust to a brand new quarterback on the fly. It was very interesting to see how TCU would go about trying to prepare for Caleb Williams. Because even though Lincoln Riley didn't officially name a starter, student journalists found out through a heist that would make the whole Oceans crew jealous that Caleb Williams was taking the majority of first-team reps. Going into this game against TCU, we talked about TCU's defense being the tale of 2 different defenses. Against the run, they were abysmal, but they've been able to affect the quarterbacks of past teams they've played, in both Mordecai for SMU and Casey Thompson for Texas. However, Caleb Williams had no problem dispensing of TCU. He was really able to positively affect this game, and the more he plays, the more it's very apparent that his mobility and athleticism alleviates pressure off of multiple different position groups for this Oklahoma team. He is very hard to defend against, and it was really interesting seeing how he went about attacking TCU. Because like I said, with TCU's abysmal rush defense, I knew he'd be able to get off some positive gains in that regard. But with TCU also simultaneously being good at affecting the quarterback, I was really interested to see what a true freshman quarterback who, by the way, didn't play high school football last year because of the pandemic. So this is a young man that hasn't played organized high-level football in over a year. He's been practicing, but we all know practice and game isn't the same thing. So it's why it's so impressive that he's doing what he's doing right now. I was very curious to see how that individual, who's a true freshman, who hasn't played in a year, would take on a Gary Patterson defense that has gotten after the quarterback. And it is one thing to affect how the defense must respect your offensive formation. And what I mean when I say that is Caleb Williams and his mobility makes the defense respect Oklahoma's run. Not only has Oklahoma's running game came about really since the Kansas State game, but then when you add in a running game that was already really figuring itself out and coming into its own with a mobile quarterback, the defense can't completely disregard Oklahoma's run anymore. It's not smart. They can hit you and hurt you in too many different ways with too many different talented guys. And it only adds in when they get Marcus Major back, which will be big down the stretch. That's one thing, right? It's one thing for a mobile quarterback to make a defense respect them. It's an entirely different thing for that same quarterback to be able to capitalize on that respect given. And what I mean when I say that is you can have a mobile quarterback who can make the defense respect the run, but can that quarterback capitalize with downfield passes? And Caleb Williams is able to do that right now. Oklahoma State finding themselves at number 8 after downing the Texas Longhorns in a game where they ultimately went down, but were able to fight back and get the victory, which is only going to make the Big 12 championship game, assuming it's OU and OSU, all the more entertaining. Speaking of championship games, though, did you really think we weren't going to talk about the SEC championship game? My goodness, if Alabama keeps winning out, that game with Alabama against Georgia is going to be must-see TV. Hop down to the comments. Let me know what you thought about this weekend's wild college football games. That's it. See ya.